Greetings to you, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kristina Azana, and I will be discussing to you the subtopic Managing the Project Cycle. Project Management Life Cycle, Phases, and why it's important. Let's get it on! First, initiating. It involves defining what needs to be done. Initiating, the first phase of the project management life cycle, is all about kicking off a project with your team and with the client, getting their commitment to start the project. You bring together all of the available information in a systematic manner to define the project's scope, cost, and resources. The goal of the initiation phase is to take a loose brief of a project and define it in terms of what it needs to do and achieve in order to be successful. That usually necessitates identifying the project stakeholders and making sure they all share the same perception of what the project is and agree on the business case, the problem that the project is trying to solve. It's during the project initiation phase too that you decide whether it is feasible to deliver the business case. As a project manager, you will need to conduct adequate research to determine the goals of the project and then propose a solution to achieve them. Once approved, you move on to the next phase of the project. At this point, I will be sharing with you key project management steps for initiating a project. First off, make a project charter. It answers the question, what is the vision, objective, and goals of this project? Next, identify the high-level scope and deliverables. It answers the question, what is the product or service that needs to be provided? Next, conduct a feasibility study. It answers the question, what is the primary problem and its possible solutions? Next, ballpark the high-level costs and create a business case. It answers the inquiry, what are the costs and benefits of the solution? And lastly, identify stakeholders. It answers the question, who are the people this project affects, how, and what are their needs? Now, let's move on to the next phase, which is the planning phase. It involves defining how to do what needs to be done. Again, defining how to do what needs to be done. After approval to proceed from initiation, we can begin project planning. This is arguably the most critical of the phases of project management. Get it wrong, and you'll scupper your chances of delivering the project on time and budget. Planning is where you define all the work to be done and create the roadmap that you follow for the remainder of the project to get you there. It's during planning phase that you figure out how you're going to perform the project and answer the questions, what exactly are we going to do? How are we going to do it? When are we going to do it? And how will we know when we're done? And at this point in the project life cycle, you take the goals and expand on those goals to decide how to attain them. It's worth evaluating those goals with 3 criteria, such as what's possible, passionate, and pervasive. What is possible? It means striving for something that is achievable. Ask yourself, does this solution match the budget? Does my team have the ability to do this? Do we have enough time? Setting unrealistic goals is setting yourself up for failure. Now, what is passionate? Projects are tough, so you want a team that is emotionally engaged in the project. Ask yourself, is this a project that your team can be passionate about? Is it something that can bring them together to collaborate to achieve the same goal? Even though it might be their job to do what you'll tell them to do, no one is going to invest into something they don't think is worthwhile. What is pervasive? Does this have the potential to become a groundbreaking success? Is this something that is a complete solution to the problem that was given to you, or is it really just a band-aid, temporary or partial solution? Does it have the potential to be improved on, developed, and to become a permanent way of working? All of the planning feeds into a project plan, and typically a statement of work that outlines the activities, tasks, dependencies, and time frames, as well as costs, the three fundamental components of the planning process. In addition, it's prudent to develop a plan for resources, quality, risk, acceptance criteria, communication, and procurement. Here are key project management steps for planning a project. First, create a project plan. It involves identifying the phases, activities, constraints, and schedule, and creating a project timeline with a work breakdown schedule and Gantt chart. Next, create a financial plan. Create a project budget and cost estimate and a plan to meet your maximum cost, complete with allocations across resources and departments. Next, create a resource plan. Build a great team, recruit and schedule the resources and materials needed to deliver the project. Next, create a quality plan. Set your quality targets and measures. Moving on, now we have to create a risk plan. Identify the possible risks, assumptions, issues, and dependencies. Assign an owner and develop a mitigation plan for how will you avoid or overcome them. Create an acceptance plan. Assign criteria for what constitutes done and delivered. Next, create a communication plan. List your stakeholders and plan the communication cadence. Moving on, now we have to create a procurement plan. Find any third-party suppliers required and agree terms. All of this should come together into a project statement of work. Create a statement of work scope document which outlines the parameters of the project. And this is for approval. Get approval of your statement of work to proceed. Once you've planned, you've laid the groundwork for the rest of the project management phase. Here we go! The third part is executing. It is making a project happen. Again, making a project happen. This is the part of the project management life cycle where you finally get to execute on your awesome project plan. It's where planning gets turned into action. You bring your resources on board, brief them, set the ground rules, and introduce them to one another. And after that, everyone jumps in to perform the work identified in the plan. Easy peasy. As the project manager, you shift from talking about a project and creating documentation to get the green light to proceed with the project execution, to leading the team and managing them toward delivery. You'll spend your time in briefings, meetings, and reviews to lead the team and keep the project on track as it moves through the project development life cycle. Now, may I present to you key project management steps for executing a project. Team leadership. It involves casting a vision for success and enabling the team to deliver on it. Next, creating tasks. It means clearly defining what needs to be done and the criteria for the task. Next, task briefing. It means ensuring the team is clear about what they need to do. Next, client management. It means working with the client to ensure deliverables are acceptable. And lastly, communications. It is ensuring you're informing and updating the right people at the right time through the right channel. Now let's move on to the fourth phase, which is monitoring and controlling. This means keeping a project on track. Again, monitoring and controlling, which means keeping a project on track. This is one of the toughest areas in the project management cycle. In parallel with the project execution, As a project manager, you report performance and monitor and control the project. That means monitoring the project life to ensure that the project is going according to plan. And if it isn't, controlling it by working out solutions to get it back on track. In reality, a project manager is monitoring and controlling a project in some way throughout all of the project lifecycle phases. First, that means ensuring you capture the data, and usually this is derived from timesheets and tasks completed to track progress effectively against the original plan. Secondly, it means taking the data and comparing the task completion, budget spent, and timeline allocated in the original plan. By comparing the plan against actuals, you can establish whether or not you're hitting the objectives for timeline, cost, quality, and success metrics. And when you realize that things aren't quite going to plan, and they rarely do, it's figuring out the options for pivoting the project so that it still delivers something the client is happy with while meeting the budget, timeline, and quality constraints. Here is a pro tip. Usually that means reducing scope. Here are key project management steps for monitoring and controlling a project. Cost and time management. Review timesheets and expenses to record, control, and track against the project's budget, timeline, and tasks. Quality management. Reviewing deliverables and ensuring they meet the defined acceptance criteria. Risk management. Monitor, control, manage, and mitigate potential risks and issues. Acceptance management. Conduct user acceptance testing and create a reviewing system, ensuring that all deliverables meet the needs of the client. And last but not the least, change management. When the project doesn't go to plan, managing the process of acceptable changes with the client to ensure they're happy with necessary changes. Again, closure, and this means ending a project. In this final phase of the project management lifecycle, your project is essentially over and your job as project manager on the project comes to a close. But the project's not over yet. Before everyone forgets, it's useful to hold a meeting, post-project review, or post-mortem to discuss the strengths and weaknesses of the project and team, what went wrong and what didn't go so well, and how to improve in the future. One of the most rewarding stages of project management, as it is a great opportunity to recognize and acknowledge valuable team members and celebrate the successes. At the same time, taking the time to make a report, learnings, and actionable advice can help you to do better in your next projects. Use writing tools to help you convey your ideas. May I present to you key project management steps for closing a project. First, project performance analysis. This is an overall look at how well the project was managed and whether the initial estimates of costs and benefits were accurate. Were there unforeseen risks? What issues arose and how well were they dealt with? Has the project plan been changed and how? Answer these. Second, team analysis. Did everyone do what they were assigned to do? Were they passionate and motivated enough? Did they stay thorough and accountable? Was the communication within the team healthy and constructive? Again, answer these questions. Third, project closure. Document the tasks needed to bring the project life to an official end. This includes closing supplier agreements, signing off contracts, and handing in all the necessary project documentation. And the fourth, post-implementation review. Write down a formal analysis of successes and failures and resulting lessons learned and suggestions for the future. At the end of every successful project, you will learn that room for improvement always remains. Ladies and gentlemen, here is our conclusion. The project life cycle is simple, right? No, of course not. Like most things in life, projects are complex and involve a large number of variables along with plenty of gray areas. Your life cycle management or project life cycle management in practice may look totally different from another agency's or project manager's system. Even so, many of the underlying concepts that support the steps in project management are the same. So, again, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for this segment and I hope you learned a lot. This has been Kristina Azana reporting on the Project Life Cycle Management. Good day.